Dima, how you doing, mate?
Doing great.
Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Just
Gorgeous home.
sorry.
Gorgeous home.
Thank you so much. For anyone who's listening, just a quick introduction of yourself, your name, where you come from.
Me. Well, I'm Dima, formerly known as Dimitri. Nobody calls me that. Came from Alberta. I was born in Alberta. Magically moved to BC in 2011. I don't even remember my past life in Alberta. It was basically I was born and then for 11 years I just kind of lived life without consciously knowing much. So moved to BC, got into a few things. I guess I met you through boxing. I started boxing in 2011, and then quite a few years later, here we are.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So I know, obviously, you've got like a family history in like fitness. I know your mum's is she a bodybuilder or was a bodybuilder?
She's a bikini model and she bodybuilds, but she's a bikini model, so she wouldn't be considered a bodybuilder.
Mm-hmm.
But she does bikini shows. She's a professional, so when she does her shows, like she does world shows, she's only been doing it for a short amount of time though. She's been doing a lot of things in her life. She started off making hats in Russia. So my background is I'm Russian,
Mm-hmm.
but I was never born in Russia. I was born in Canada. And she made hats for a living, and then she married her bodyguard because during communism she worked in the black market. So she married her bodyguard. She had me quite a few years later, and then she got into fitness maybe 7 years ago, and then I saw her getting into bodybuilding, and then I was like, oh, let me give it a try. And I was still boxing at the time, but I think it would be when we're teenagers, we see other guys when they're a little bit older, they're like, oh, they're big.
Yeah.
I want to get big too, and that's kind of where it started.
So were you boxing before you started like hitting weights and stuff, or was it the other way around?
100%. I started ballroom dancing first.
Oh, I actually seen that photo of you.
There's a few more photos. Yeah. Now you should kind of expose me.
Yeah, I know. That was
she
funny.
exposed me quite a bit. It's all on my Facebook. Like I haven't been on Facebook in years. I don't. Our generation, we're not really on Facebook anymore. But if you go onto there, you'll see a lot of stuff, like a lot of old dancing videos too. But danced for 6 years, did pretty well, and then got into boxing. I just found a friend when I first moved here. He said oh, I'm just gonna go to boxing. Thought I'd check it out, and then kind of went from there. I think I fell in love with it probably the first day.
Yeah.
I started, but in terms of weightlifting, that was later. That was a later thing. I think that's more of a mature sport to get into.
Yeah.
With social media nowadays, and TikTok and everything, Instagram, how people perceive you is huge, and people start lifting weights now. I think it's good, but I hope people are getting into it for the proper reasons.
For the right reasons. Yeah.
For me, it's a huge mental thing. Like during COVID, if I couldn't work out and I'm just sitting at home, that's a big no-no for me.
Yeah.
I gotta do something. So later in life I was weightlifting, but in boxing, you have your strength and conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
When I started, it was a lot of just old school stuff, push-ups, pull-ups, not a lot of weights.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Training was pretty brutal back then too, I think. Yeah.
So you're saying about you went with your friend to the box gym. How old were you when you first went into the gym?
2011, so I would have been 12, or I would have just before I turned 12.
Mm-hmm.
And him and I, we were in an interesting duo. We were both larger kids. We weren't we weren't big kids, but we were just we were always tall. I was really skinny if I showed you pictures, but we were always tall, so we thought it would be a good sport to get into, just so nobody would mess with us or something. And he was my first best friend at the time, so we kind of stuck through it. He only sparred. He never fought, surprisingly, because we sparred. I remember one day we sparred, and it was just a combination we were working on, and I landed it proper on him, and that was the last day I saw him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't like that, huh?
That was the last day I saw him in the gym. We saw him at school, but then just like he would start like really separating himself from me, and I just kept going with boxing.
Was it an uppercut? Because I've seen
No,
your uppercuts, mate.
It was just a slip right hand. Literally, like we were both drilling the same combination, and the coach was like, "Okay." Like we were kids. We're like 11 or 12 years old, or we're probably a year into it, so we're just learning still the basics. And he was like, okay, whoever throws a jab, slip the jab, throw a right hand over top. And then it caught him by surprise because he just, like, I did it instantly. Like, I don't know if he threw a jab or if he threw a half jab, but I just slipped and threw it right away. And that caught him, and that was it. Like, he was, we're young. Like, he got upset. He just left, and that was it. Yeah. But no, the uppercuts I had to learn a little bit later. I never knocked anybody out with an uppercut, unfortunately.
Not yet.
Not yet. We'll see.
So what gym did you start boxing at?
Queensborough Boxing Club.
Queensborough. Was that here?
It was named after the Queensborough Bridge in New York. Was it New York or Chicago? Where's Queensborough Bridge?
Oh, mate, I don't know.
Anyways, well, the owner thought it would be a great idea to call Queensborough Bridge, because originally it was in New West in Queensborough, and the logo was a Queensborough Bridge in wherever, New York or Chicago. And went from Queensborough, New West, and then went for kind of like main area of New West. And it was just in a basement of a community center. Nobody knew what it was. Nobody knew where it was. But just proper old boxing gym, like, you walk in and it just stinks. It just reeks. It reeks. You don't clean anything. I didn't clean anything for years when I was there. I remember just before I switched gyms, I went in, I found a key that I had for years that I had tucked away. And I kept a whole bunch of equipment in there. And it's still wet. Just over the years, just all the moisture and everything. And so I just kind of looked at it, closed the locker, and just left. That was the last time. And 2 months later, a month and a half later, the gym collapsed. And that was it of Queensborough Boxing Club. So it collapsed 2015, I think. Oh, yeah. 2014, 2015. It was pretty brutal.
And then did you head to Eastside, am I right in saying?
Eastside was next. I went around. I went to Surrey. I went to Eastside. I checked out Quinnett Boxing Gym just before John Quinnett, I think, owned it. But I just popped in once, and then that was it. Nobody probably even remembered me. And this was probably before I even had like a weightlifting phase.
Yeah.
So Eastside was next. That was the next big gym. Yeah. Great gym, great people. Certain people I dislike, certain people I like, but you know, that's with everything.
You get them everywhere, right?
Yeah.
That was where I actually first met you. I remember I came to do a bit of sparring with Shoyan, and I remember you were there. And
was this like on a weekend?
I'm not. Yeah, probably. I used to go there like the odd Friday.
Did we talk?
Yeah, we spoke because I remember it was. I was sparring, but I was doing my ACE exam at the time.
Okay.
And I think I was talking to Shoyan about it, and you doing this course.
Did I kind of pop in?
Yeah, you overheard because you passed the exam. Yeah, you told me, you were like, just once you read it, just read it again, and then when you've done that, read it again.
The thing is like the ACE exam, did you do it?
I failed it 4 times.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and then I just was like, you know what?
How many times did I fail?
But I knew all the stuff, but obviously the quiz was just I
failed either 2 or 3 times. It's pretty messed up.
Yeah,
it's pretty messed up.
It's a mad test. Yeah.
And I remember when I took it, my mom's paying for the exam, so I get not upset because like I'm wasting her money. Actually, no, that's probably the biggest thing. I'm wasting her money because I'm failing, but she's also Russian, and she's like, okay, you're not supposed to fail anything. Like,
yeah, you
make sure you get this.
Yeah.
And then once I passed, it was pretty good. But I was already working. I was already working before, like with people, training people, because there's I don't think there's no legality against training people if you don't have your certificate. But if you're studying for it, that's basically your
insurance sort of thing.
You can have an insurance if you're under somebody. So I was under my mother, so we had an insurance for training. With training other people, but not having a certificate, if you're at another gym, it's a big no-no. But if you're, we owned our own gym, so that was, we were able to kind of get under the rug, sweep anything under the rug if we needed to. Just say like I had a certificate or whatnot. But then we found out if I'm studying for it, then there's no problem, because when you go for a job, they say, okay, you need this many years of experience. That's my building experience.
Yeah. And then going back to boxing, your first fight, do you remember, like, once you broke through, do you remember your first fight? Do you remember, like, your feelings, emotions? Like, can you go back to that moment?
First fight was against a guy named Alex Wisniewski. I don't know where he is now, but he was a tall motherfucker. He was tall as hell. He was tall, and he was. I wouldn't consider myself tall. Like, I'm 6'1", and I was 13 when I had my first fight at the 2013 Bronze Gloves tournament. And I saw him in the ring, and I'm like, damn. He was 6'7".
Yeah.
He was 6'7" at my age.
Which
is pretty. I saw him. So it was a tournament. It was a Bronze Gloves tournament. First day, I'm prepped. I'm in my gear. Like, there's even pictures, which is crazy. I'm in my gear for the blue corner, and then somebody took a picture of me. I'm warming up, and then my coach just kind of comes up to me. Your guy left. He's not going to be fighting today. So I was pretty upset. So we came the next day at the weigh-in. And then just to hope I could get a fight or an exhibition or something. And then there's this other guy there, and he's like, oh, how old are you? He's like, oh, I'm 14 or whatever. And then I was 13. Asked what his weight was. We were pretty similar in weight, but he was just so much taller. And so we were like, yeah, okay, we'll fight. And that was for the Bronze Gloves tournament. And which I wouldn't call a tournament if you fight once.
Yeah.
But I won the Bronze Gloves tournament. It was just it's your first fight.
Yeah.
It lasts three rounds for sure. I didn't knock him out or anything, but no. Emotions wise, for the first fight, I think adrenaline just takes over.
Yeah.
I can't, like, when I got older, you really get into your head about emotions of the fight or how you feel before, trying to control before, during, and then after and whatnot. But that fight I fought him 3 times. First time was at Bronze Gloves. Second time was at a Cloverdale fight. And third time was at the 2013 or 14 Provincial tournament. And I beat him all 3 times.
Nice.
Knocked him out in the third fight.
Really? How many knockouts have you got?
I don't even know. I have to look at my book.
Yeah.
Knockouts only came when I got a little bit older, and stoppages came out a little bit older. I fought in Thailand once, but it's not my record book, but I'd count that one. That one was a good one. It was just a body shot too.
Yeah.
But that was a good one. If I had to guess, maybe, not too many.
No.
6, 7 knockouts.
Nice, mate.
I don't have too many fights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is there any like memories from boxing, looking back, maybe from the beginning or even like later on? Is there any like particular moments that really like stick out for you? Like, is there a certain fight? Is there like, a team, a time, a person? Like, when I say like boxing to you, what jumps out?
When I think of boxing, of a fight, my biggest tournament that I even have it tattooed on me, like the date I won, was it was the third day of the 2020 Provincial tournament. I thought that was a big day for me because like just everything leading up to it was probably the most brutal part. Everybody, I'm an unconventional heavyweight. Like I'm only this size because of weightlifting. Naturally, if I didn't weightlift, I wouldn't be at a heavyweight. Like right now I'm weighing at 205. I'm still trying to recover from 180 pounds and I'm slowly trying to bring my weight back up. So I came down again to 180 for provincials. And I had a minor concussion from sparring the week before. So my coaches and I were talking, okay, this isn't going to work. Like, let me just eat. Let me recover. I'm not going to train this whole week at all. Let me just recover. And then we'll just get into provincials as we do. First fight, stopped the guy in the second round, which was great. I was already too tired because recovering from everything. Second fight, managed to drop the guy, but won by decision the second fight. And third fight, I thought I beat a pretty reputable boxer. He was a well-known Canadian champion. He's fought some pretty prestige boxers, like some Cubans, Olympic Cubans. And I knocked him out in the last 10 seconds of the fight. And that was a pretty high moment for me in boxing, but I knew from there, like, there's a lot of work that needs to be done too. But for boxing, that's probably the biggest fight that stands out. Best team, Griffins by far. Like, in terms of a family aspect, like, you don't love everybody in your family, but meeting everybody at Griffins, everybody's diverse, and there's nobody, you can't dislike anybody when you're in the hurt game, right? Like, you can dislike your opponent if they're disrespecting you before or after the fight, okay? We don't need to talk to them, but no, the Griffins team, they made the last year of boxing for me something to get through. I could have left boxing a while back, but finding Griffins, I think, was a healthy part in the sport for me. If I wouldn't have found Griffins, I don't think I would have been fighting, or I wouldn't have had the last few fights I've had. Yeah,
that's good, mate.
How about you?
How about me?
Yeah,
a moment, probably my first fight.
Yeah,
I had lots of, like,
5 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah, 4 years ago. It was my first fight back home. I had like lots of stuff going on around at that moment, and then
it's all the lead up. It's never the moment of the opportunity. It's always the build up.
Yeah. It's definitely the build up to it, and then, like,
you always know what
you got your nerves and the adrenaline. But I boxed really well, and then I won. And it was like as soon as I come out of that ring, just like my brother and my friend's dad was the first person over to me, and he just grabbed me and just like hugged me, and it was just like it was a crazy moment. It gives me like goosebumps. But
that's cool.
Yeah, obviously, and just everybody cheering, like me being me, like, you know me, I'm a bit like jokey and stuff like that. So all my friends back home were like, "Oh, you're gonna get knocked out," and all this. They wanted me to get beaten up, right?
You always bring a crowd.
I do.
Bring a crowd.
But obviously, because it being back home, obviously my friends are semi-joke. They're joking. They're saying, "Oh, we want to see you get knocked out."
But they're also there to support. I'm nervous,
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously came out, did really well, and I think that was it. I just spurred on from there. But yeah, it was a special time. Yeah,
you always bring a crowd.
Yeah.
Me, whenever I'm fighting, I don't tell anybody.
Really?
No, I'll tell my mother, maybe. It depends on if I know the fight is set and it's 100%, I'll even mention after the weigh-ins, after I know that the other guy confirmed and his weight's on, then that's when I say okay, either to my girlfriend or my mom. That's usually it. I've never invited friends. At Provincials, like the last fight for the gold medal belt, that's like when I had quite a few people there because people just heard of it and they want to come watch. But you know, I'm big on not telling people about me fighting, which is really weird. A lot of people, they always want the support, and I find I get enough support just from select few people.
Yeah.
But people are different. I think it would be dope having a huge group of friends coming there, but I only have one friend and he's pretty lazy coming out to fight. So.
It's funny, I was literally speaking to one of my friends back home yesterday, and he was asking about the tournament and stuff like that, and he was saying that he doesn't like people, he likes it quite, he doesn't like telling people and stuff like that, and I'm like, I want the more the merrier, right? I like the noise, it kind of gets me going, it gives me like that extra bit of a push, you know. And also it gives me like makes me like not want to lose more because there's people there that I know.
Yeah.
But going back to that provincial final, the knockout, what was that feeling like? So that fight, like, how obviously it must have been a tough fight, like you say. It was
I was losing.
I was
losing the fight.
Yeah, I heard that. I didn't want to say it, but I heard it was a real tough fight.
It was a guy that had I know if I took a guess, he's had well over 50 fights for sure. Maybe not. Maybe he's had less, but he's had international experience. I've never had international experience.
Mm.
I fought professionals that came from the States and everything, but in terms of amateur, I wouldn't consider an Olympic or national boxer an amateur.
Yeah.
The association they're with is an amateur association. So we're with IABA, but if you're at that level, you're a professional fighter.
Yeah.
You're not an amateur fighter. So when we're at that level, it's really who's had the experience and who's got the ring IQ.
Mm.
For me, I had the strength on my side for that last fight. So, and you can notice it throughout the fight, but in terms of like boxing, it wasn't there.
Mm.
I think training up to the fight, I had this whole Mike Tyson mentality. Just try to get the guy out right away. Yeah.
So that moment, so that fight, you're losing that fight.
Yeah.
Is he outboxing you, or is it just the intelligence of the ring IQ?
He's probably the IQ came where he knew how to tire me out by doing dirty shit, pushing me down when my head's down, because he was much taller than me. So I'm only 6'1", and it's an anomaly that I'm a heavyweight, and he's much taller. He's maybe 6'4", and if I just wanted to do a body shot, he could just put his hands over me and shove me down, sit down, right? That was happening throughout the fight. Maybe I can send you a video of the fight.
Yeah, I'd love to watch it.
And you just rewatch it and see what's going on. And I heard him in the first round too, which was, if I capitalize on that, that would have been big. But he learned how to get me tired, push me down. I looked horrible fighting. Like I was just so done. I was ready to like just fall asleep the whole time, because this was every night, Friday, Saturday, it was like 1 a.m. or midnight fight. And then the third day, it was the first thing in the morning. So it was like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. I was just beat. I was there basically to survive. And then the last, he's learning how to tie me up, get me tired, basically get through the fight. And then you just hear the last 10 seconds. And then you can see both of us just kind of like step back, take a breath, and we threw the same punch. We both threw a right hand, left hook, and his hand was down.
Wow, and that was it. Good night, Vienna.
I've heard stories where he's saying he was fine and everything, but he stood up. Good for him. There's a thing where if you're falling face first and your equilibrium is making you fall head first, like you took a little bit of damage. Watching the video, watching him trying to step back to the corner, I think it's the funniest thing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing
everybody can say that, not everybody, but like the people he's friends with, he said he won the fight for sure. But you don't win until you win.
Yeah, that's it. And then obviously, bang, knockout. You win. What's that feeling? What's going through your mind?
I just screamed. I just yelled.
A good time?
I was so ecstatic, but I was so exhausted. Man.
Yeah.
I was so done, because like the amount of energy to move, like it's weird. Like I see myself as a big guy, and I feel like I'm a big guy, but visually I'm not. And it pisses me off when I get tired. And when I'm trying to move a certain way, or when I'm in the ring and I'm doing certain movements and I get tired, it throws me off, because I think and I know I'm better at what's going on. But that moment after knocking him out, I was done. I was exhausted. I was ready to. I got into the car and fell asleep. But it was the whole few days after that. It was definitely a big thing for me, but I knew, okay, Nationals was coming up, but then COVID happened. So I won probably the best part of my boxing career at the time, where I thought I was, and then COVID happens, and life kind of throws some stuff at you.
Start looking at things differently, right?
Yeah. And I don't think people should dwell on that. Like, I don't see myself, I didn't go to Nationals. It was unfortunate, but I can't look at it where I don't want to look back like 10, 20 years from now and be like, where could have I been?
Yeah.
I don't try to look at it like that because I don't know. I think I can do quite a few good things.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think boxing's the answer or the only answer. There's a few things. Yeah, but I'd be excited to see you in London fighting for the national.
Yeah, maybe.
That'd be exciting.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
So just going off the back of what you just said there, so obviously after provincials, there's COVID, all that stuff, you start looking at things differently. Like now, obviously I met you at Eastside, but I met you properly as a teammate at Griffins. Yeah. We were training together, we had a few competitions together. Yeah. We obviously became good friends, and I know you as like such a like strong, like, you know, good, skillful, powerful fighter, and
I can still hear the bag screaming.
Really? But as a boxer, like, and you've made the decision to, I'm not going to say retire, because I think, you know, you're still very young. It's not, never say never.
It's a temporary
but
retire.
Let's just say you've hung up the gloves for now.
Yeah.
How hard of a decision was that for you, and like why?
The decision was made a few years back. It was always in my mind. I think anytime you make a decision, there's always one moment where it's like, okay, that's it. There's a moment where you see something or you think about something, and it can be either something really complicated or something as simple as just I don't want to do it. You know, there's moments in training in the past few years where I would just be boxing and be like, why? Like, is it making me happy? No. Am I good at it? I think so. Do other people think I'm good at it? People think I'm pretty good at it. So it's like, at the time I didn't want to make people unhappy because of how much they supported me through the sport. But then, like, you'll hear it everywhere. You need to do it for yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
I found I wasn't doing it for myself. I was doing it for my mother. I was doing it for my coaches. I was doing it for teammates that saw the potential I had. And from a young age, I always worked hard. Like, when I was dancing, it was just nonstop. Worked hard, and the medals came. You know, quite a few good moments there. But I never thought I would do that for the rest of my life. And then I got into like biking, right? Like skate park biking. I was great at that. And then just a moment where I had like, okay, want to try to move on to something different. Found boxing, got into boxing. But when I've been in the sport for 11 years and just kind of seeing everything, ins and out of it, seeing how I feel, the people around the sport, like if people like you, it's hard to come across often. There's a lot of people you'll meet that you feel unfortunate that they're associated with the sport, but it's who the sport is for. It's for people that have nothing, or it can be for people that have everything, right? It's a great sport to get into. And for me, just after 11 years, I think it's a good time to maybe focus on schooling for me. I think that's a big thing. Nobody in my family's been to school. Nobody's ever done post-secondary. I'm the only. My sister never finished her high school diploma, so I think she has now. I can't remember, but she's 6 years older. And for me, school, I think, when I was younger, it wasn't a big deal. It might be a big thing for you if you have anything done, but for me, it was nothing. I thought it meant nothing. As you get older, as there's certain things you maybe want to do or get into, schooling is a big part of that. And I try to see myself progressing into something a little bit more financially stable instead of personal training. I think that's a big part for me, but personal training's great. Yeah, I don't think that's too much of an issue. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of things I've thought about for boxing. Maybe I'll come back. Maybe not. But if I do come back, I don't want to go down in weight class anymore. I'm done cutting. I was so done with trying to lose all that weight and then feeling like I'm at a rock bottom, and then I gain all that weight back, and then I feel great. And then I have these moments where like, oh, all I want to do is boxing, and it just doesn't make me happy. So why get into something when it doesn't make you happy?
Exactly, yeah. Well, like I say, obviously we all miss you at Griffin's because you're great to have.
Everybody great. I messaged you. I'm excited that you have me on the podcast. And like Nayusha was a big part of why I made a transition to Griffin's. Like, shout out to her. Her and I had a friendship even before, or when I was at Griffin's, I think, or even before, way before Griffin's. Yeah, way before Griffin's, way before Eastside, where Griffin started at a community center in Delbrook, where Dave was training people. I knew Nayusha, and there was just a heavy bag in a room, and then I just kind of messaged her and like, hey, can like we do some training? And then from there, like, went on. I found Eastside, but then Nayusha's been a big part of kind of creating a little family at Griffin's for me. Yeah, which I'm happy I made that step. Yeah. And the people, like, everybody's different age groups too. Like, I talked to Will the other day. It was his birthday as well. Yeah, I don't think those are connections I'll lose. Yeah. You'll be in London soon.
Yeah.
So I don't think just you being across the pond will
of
mean
course,
we have to stop talking and everything. So.
You never know. You might be traveling one day, or I could end up.
I'd love to come to London, bro.
You know, but obviously the main thing is, obviously, as much as we miss you, we're glad that you're happy and you've made that decision for yourself, because, of course,
what's a boxing, team if they don't support you?
Exactly right. Whether so we support you whether you're there or whether you're not there.
That's why Griffin's is such a big part, because I remember I left a certain team, and there were a couple people that were supportive, and then the coaches were just completely backstabbing or just flipping the whole narrative of why I was leaving to join another team. But it's like, no, it's crazy how some people think, but that's not my issue, not my circus.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So what's next for Dima then? Obviously, I know you're working in the gym, you're a strength coach. You do would I say powerlifting is the right?
Bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I might not look like a bodybuilder, but that's the type of training I do. Bodybuilding, I think, is, to me, to some people it's different. To me, it's just aesthetically pleasing. Because when I was younger, I was such a small kid. I hated that. I hated being a small guy. And I was never small in terms of my height or anything. I was always tall. But just as simple as seeing my ribs on my back, like, I know everybody's different. Like, people grew up differently. They had different body physiques. For me, I grew up, I see the ribs on my back, or I just see my ribs, that killed me. That killed me. And then I would always ask my mom, like, what can I do for abs? What can I do for this? And I'd be like 6 years old. And I would be on the carpet just trying to do some sit-ups, and it killed me. I knew I was always going to be an athlete. I just didn't know in what. But powerlifting, I train people in, whether it's for powerlifting, bodybuilding, just weight loss. Like, I have a 70-year-old client. He's a lawyer, and he just comes, works out with me. But it's all a program. The biggest thing that I do is I teach. I would consider myself a teacher more than just a simple trainer. A big clientele I have is people that have never been to the gym before, and I think meeting a person for the first time, first impression is a big thing. So we have our meeting. They decide, okay, they want to train with me, but the first impression in the gym is a huge thing. And people, a lot are intimidated about what's going on, but I try to bring a vibe and an environment where teaching them and them understanding what it is, it doesn't have to be scary. And I think that's been a pretty good success. So a lot of people that I have currently, I'm not trying to just train them, get the money and leave. I'm trying to teach them why they're in it, what they need to be doing in terms of whether it's nutrition or weightlifting. And then from there, after a certain amount of time, I'll retire my services to them because whatever I know, I try to teach them. And I've had some clients that have stuck around for 6 years already, but majority of the clients is I'm teaching you, and then you go live your life. You do what you with the information. But quite a few clients that I've had over the years, they've retired from our program, but now they have that knowledge for the rest of their life. They go into a gym, they point at a machine, they know what to do.
They know what they're doing. Yeah, I think that's the main thing, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of trainers will train you.
And where can people find you if somebody's looking to train?
Right now at Genesis Athletic Club in North Van. It's a great warehouse gym, like a lot of equipment. And the thing is a lot of people, they come in there and they're like, okay, maybe it's not for me. It's too big. It's too much. But I think it's the best because if you go into a smaller gym or any of the branch chain fitness gyms, you get such a limited amount of things, and there's nothing scary. We myself as a trainer, I try to take the frightening aspect of the gym out of things. Like, I don't know if you go to a gym and you worry about people looking at you. Realistically, it's not the thing. If you're doing something interesting, sure, I'll take a look at you. It's where nobody really cares on how you look when you're training, as long as you're there. I think that's the biggest thing. Everybody's heard it. The hardest part about getting to the gym is just getting there. You can do whatever, but it's big.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, North Van. Maybe eventually I'll move downtown. We'll see what happens. And then in the future, with whatever is going to go on with my life, who knows? It's a story to be unraveled.
Nice,
so
mate.
We'll see.
Well, Dima, it's been great having you on here, mate. And
fun.
Obviously, we wish you nothing but success. And
thank you, sir.
Hopefully,
and you as well.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see you. At least you can pop your head into Griffin's.
Well, I'll be at the Provincials.
Yeah.
I don't know which day. I know it's 3 days, but I'll see. I think the first day is a big day. I think the first day I'll show. That'll be good to come back and see. I'm not excited to see all the judges that I know or people and they're like, oh, why aren't you in the tournament? And then I don't want to explain everything, right? But I don't need to explain myself. I'm doing it for my own reasons, and I don't really have to say anything. I'm there to support my team. Yeah. Even though I'm not with Griffins, they're still my team. So.
No, rightfully so.
Yeah.
One more question before we wrap up. What's something that you can say you've took from boxing that you use in your normal everyday life? Is there a certain characteristic, or something that you can that you look at boxing and you think, I wouldn't be like this, or I wouldn't do stuff this way if it wasn't for that?
I think that's a good one. There's probably multiple avenues where I can.
Yeah, it's a kind of open-ended question.
A big thing is how I have others receive my energy. I think is a big thing, and I'll explain why. Is when you get into boxing, people see it as a violent sport, but you're not necessarily a violent person. And I think I've grown to be a nicer person because of boxing, and understanding where maybe frustration or anger comes from and not take it out in a physical way. And I think with boxing, the nicer the person is, when I see a person, if I know you're a fighter and you're just an extremely nice guy, I know you can probably mess me up, right? But I think how people perceive me is there's no, it's a hard one to explain. There's no reason for me to be an unliked person, and I think out of boxing it's really humbled me, and I think it's the amount of people I've met. There's maybe certain characteristics where I don't even know I have as a person, and I think I would give all the credit to boxing and just how I hold myself up for in that way. But to pinpoint an answer to your question, it's a hard one. I'll have to think of that one. How about yourself? Do you have an answer? How you carry yourself? Maybe I can steal from your answer.
I don't know. I wasn't expecting you to ask me back. It is a tough one, actually.
Yeah,
now you
it's a
say
good
it.
one.
I'd probably say. I mean, it's a common answer, but it's discipline. You know, it's
Yeah, 100%. I mean, going
doing
with all the
doing the
avenues
things
of
doing the
question.
things that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
I think it was a Mike Tyson quote. It's like doing the things you don't want to do, but doing them like you love them. You know, and I think when I take that into my everyday life, I feel like I've changed so much. Like if you knew me before I started boxing, I feel like I've completely changed, and it's 100%. It's down to boxing, and I think it's the discipline in the way I do my things daily. You know, conversations with people, how I network with people, and again,
gives
like
you
you
confidence.
say, I don't need to walk around and try and be big and angry and aggressive.
It gives you confidence to talk to people, right, and do a lot.
Yeah.
I think with the discipline is, there's you don't need to prove anything as a person. And there's a lot of people that are in certain things and they're always talking about it. But when I first meet somebody, talking about boxing or that I'm a fighter is the last thing I'll talk about. It's really unless they already knew before.
Yeah.
But when somebody brings up the topic of boxing, like I know I probably should have in training, but I've never watched like fighters, like in terms of the studying aspect, or people would ask like, "Oh, are you watching like Mayweather today? Like he's fighting?" No.
Yeah.
It's such on a back end for me that like I do the work, and
it's good because it's personal for you. You know what I mean? It's like you're doing it for your own.
Yeah, 100%. And everybody's gonna have their own thing, but I'll think more on your question. That's a good one. Attitude's a big thing.
Yeah.
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 And it's a mature sport, and I think it matured me at a really young age.
Yeah.
That's probably.
I think it matured me at an old age.
You're not that old.
Well, I started 25, older than most, but again, also just off that, I think it's actually the biggest thing is the people that I've met through the sport and the things I've done because of the sport. It's like, you know, I just have to kind of thank everything for that, and you know.
It's been in your life for a while, and you gotta give it props to the people you've met, and you meet a lot of people in the sport.
Yeah, you do.
And it's a small community, but there's still a lot of people. Everybody knows everybody. Yeah, but it's an interesting game. It's a growing game.
That's it.
The sweet science.
Sweet science. All right, we'll wrap up there. So Dima, again, thank you so much for coming on. Great to see you again.
Great seeing you.
Maybe after provincials, we'll go for a bite to eat.
We'll go for a beer.
Go for a pint. Yeah.
We'll go for a pint.
Right.
I don't know if I can handle a whole pint. It's been a while.
I don't think I can handle a whole pint.
I haven't had a drink in a while. Actually, that's not true.
I haven't had a drink this year.
Right after provincial, or not provincial. Right after my last fight, the fight that I won, the fight that I lost, that everybody said I won. We went to Boston Pizza. And I ordered a drink, and I drank that so fast, like, and that was probably the first drink I had in a year.
Really?
Yeah, I had a few drinks, just kind of let it go, and I had so much fun.